Imagine walking into a boxing ring, the tension thick in the air, with thousands of eyes on you, cameras flashing, and the commentators already writing your defeat before the first punch is thrown. This was the reality for George Foreman on January 22, 1973. He stood as a sacrificial lamb against the undefeated heavyweight champion, Joe Frazier, a man known for enduring epic battles, including his legendary matchup with Muhammad Ali that went the distance. Everyone around him, from journalists to fellow fighters, saw him as an underdog with no chance, laughing at the thought of his victory. Yet deep down, one person believed he could win, the only one that truly mattered him. Foreman wasn't just stepping into the ring. He was about to embark on a journey that would forever change the landscape of boxing. As the fight approached, whispers of doubt swirled around him. But with resilience in his heart, he prepared himself for the monumental clash ahead, training hard, ignoring the naysayers, and visualizing his triumph. The fight was not merely a contest of physical prowess, but also a battle of wills, and Foreman was ready to unleash a storm that would surprise the world. With every punch he trained to throw, he envisioned the glory that awaited him, the respect he sought, and the legacy he aimed to forge. Nobody, it seemed, was prepared for what George Foreman had in store. As the date drew near and the anticipation reached a fever pitch, all eyes would soon witness a historical event in the world of boxing, where dreams and realities would collide. The unexpected challenger. George Foreman stepped into the boxing ring on January 22, 1973, the world watching closely, and everyone expected him to lose before he even threw a punch. He was seen as a sacrificial lamb, up against the undefeated heavyweight champion, Joe Frazier, who had previously fought Muhammad Ali in a grueling match, lasting 15 intense rounds. Foreman's odds were slim, as commentators and the media dismissed his chances entirely. Even fellow fighters laughed at him, writing him off as just another contender with no real shot at victory. But in that moment, there was one person who believed in Foreman, and that was, of course, George Foreman himself. He entered the fight, fueled by a belief that few others shared, but despite the defeatists surrounding him, he was determined to prove them all wrong. The atmosphere was charged and tense. Reporters were prepared to capture what they thought would be just another predictable outcome, but they underestimated the power of Foreman's resolve. They didn't recognize the training that he had undergone, which was comprehensive and intense. As Foreman prepared, he remained highly focused, ignoring the noise all around him, and refusing to let the opinions of the skeptics shake his confidence, leading up to a fight that would become one of the most iconic moments in boxing history. His journey from being the underdog to becoming a challenger was not just a fight. It was the beginning of a monumental transformation, as Foreman set out to change the narrative of his career forever. Training camps and strange atmospheres. In the lead-up to the monumental fight, both George Foreman and Joe Frazier set up their training camps, but the stark contrast between them was impossible to ignore. Frazier's camp was more traditional, focused on discipline and conventional methods, while Foreman's training environment was filled with oddities and superstition. Foreman's camp, nestled in the exotic locale of Jamaica, resembled more of a carnival than a serious boxing setup. It was filled with fortune tellers, dreamers, and an array of strange characters that gave it a gypsy-like atmosphere, which left many insiders scratching their heads. Meanwhile, in Frazier's camp, the atmosphere was intense but less eclectic, focused on preparing him for battle against a supposed formidable opponent. But it was Foreman's training drills that drew the most curiosity. His fists were wrapped under layers of tape, making them look comically huge, sparking both laughter and concern among onlookers. The training sessions often featured bizarre routines, including pushing and pulling heavy bags as if they were wrestling, leaving spectators to wonder if this was serious training or just a psychological tactic to intimidate Frazier. The sounds of thunderous punches echoed throughout the camp, creating a chilling sense of unease and mystery. To many, it seemed like Foreman's camp had embraced a bizarre blend of superstition and strategy that defied conventional boxing wisdom. Yet, at its core, this unique atmosphere fostered a sense of unity and determination among Foreman's team, a camaraderie built in the face of widespread ridicule and doubt. This strange environment ultimately contributed to one of the most significant upsets in boxing history, showcasing that unconventional methods can sometimes yield unexpected results. Doubts and public opinion. As the fight between George Foreman and Joe Frazier approached, skepticism loomed large. Many experts doubted Foreman's abilities to land any significant punches, let alone emerge victorious. Sports writers often portrayed him as a wild puncher, who lacked the technical skills needed to challenge an esteemed champion like Frazier, whose record was formidable and impressive. The media buzz painted a clear picture. Foreman was a long shot with little chance, and most boxing commentators dismissed him as a no-name fighter, undeserving of the spotlight. Frazier, in a contrasting light, was celebrated, focused on his popular social life, including appearances with Playboy models and music gigs, which further fueled the narrative of his superiority entering the ring. As the fight date neared, betting odds dropped sharply in favor of Frazier, creating a classic underdog scenario, one where all the attention and expectation revolved around him. Even seasoned fighters expressed doubts, suggesting that Foreman would be outmatched and simply not strong enough, with many speculating that perhaps Frazier's experience would ultimately see him through the match. Joe Frazier's camp remained unconcerned, but the undercurrent of doubt surrounding Foreman was palpable. It was a perception that seemed unshakable in the eyes of boxing fans and critics alike. It would take something extraordinary to change the narrative, something powerful enough to turn the tide of public opinion and rewrite the history of heavyweight boxing, leading to one of the most shocking upsets in sports history. The real focus behind Foreman's camp. In the world of boxing, appearances can be deceiving, especially when it comes to George Foreman's camp. From the outside, it looked like a chaotic place, filled with fortune tellers and a gypsy atmosphere. However, what many didn't realize was that beneath this unusual facade lay a deeply focused and serious training regimen. Foreman, often dismissed by experts, was under the careful guidance of his trainer, Archie Moore. Moore wasn't just a storyteller. He was the key strategist behind Foreman's rise. He meticulously wrapped Foreman's hands, ensuring optimal protection for intense training sessions, and he shared wisdom drawn from his own legendary career against icons like Joe Louis and Rocky Marciano. This added a layer of depth to Foreman's preparation that was often overlooked. The camp was intense, with a singular focus on building Foreman's strength, power, and technique. It wasn't merely about brute force. It was about strategy and precision. His unorthodox methods, such as the heavy bag drills that sounded like thunder, were designed to intimidate opponents while honing his skills. In fact, even sparring partners often found it challenging to keep up with the intensity of Foreman's training. Many suffered injuries, confirming the ferocity of his punches. Foreman's unwavering dedication meant he sometimes sacrificed personal milestones, like the birth of his daughter, to keep his focus on the upcoming fight. While observers might have seen a gimmick, those close to Foreman understood that underneath the surface was a focused athlete determined to prove his doubters wrong and become a true champion. This preparation was crucial, setting the stage for his legendary fight against Joe Frazier, which would ultimately change everything. The fight begins with surprise. When the fight finally commenced, the atmosphere in the arena was electric, excitement crackling through the air. Foreman, known for his raw power, started with a big, wild right hand that missed its target entirely, leaving him open for Frazier's legendary left hook. Everyone held their breath, waiting for the moment Frazier would capitalize on this rare mistake, yet he didn't. Instead of coming forward aggressively, Frazier seemed hesitant, almost cautious, bobbing and weaving, looking to create openings but not landing them. Foreman, determined to assert his presence, tried to push and pull Frazier around the ring, adopting a grappling-like approach. This unusual tactic, while seemingly awkward, was designed to disrupt Frazier's rhythm, forcing him to adapt to an unexpected style of combat. Just as the audience began to doubt Foreman's approach, he found his footing. After several exchanges, Foreman settled into his rhythm, landing significant punches that were either absorbed by Frazier or brushed off, rather than dealt directly. The real turning point came when Foreman delivered a quick and precise jab, one that opened the door for his devastating right uppercut. This combination sent shockwaves through the crowd, and before anyone could fully comprehend, Frazier was sent to the canvas. The volume of gasps from the audience seemed to engulf the arena. It was a moment to remember, where the battle shifted dramatically, forever altering perceptions. "Down goes Frazier," echoed the announcer, sealing the surprise of the night into history. As the crowd erupted, witnessing an unexpected twist in this storied matchup. Suddenly, the underdog wasn't just fighting. He was rewriting the rules of engagement right before their eyes. Turning point and Foreman's power. As the fight progressed, a crucial moment emerged, where the tides began to shift dramatically in George Foreman's favor. After missing a wild right hand, he unexpectedly found himself open to Joe Frazier's lethal left hook. Yet, in a twist no one anticipated, Frazier hesitated, not seizing the moment. This left Foreman undeterred, allowing him to regroup and refocus. Powered by sheer determination, Foreman landed a sharp jab that opened a crucial opportunity. The crowd held its breath, sensing that something monumental was about to unfold. The jab set up a perfect right uppercut, which struck with devastating precision. With a fierce explosion of energy, Frazier hit the canvas, his fall echoing through the arena like a thunderclap. It was a defining moment that stunned the audience, and as Howard Cosell's voice rang out with the iconic call of "Down goes Frazier," history was made. Foreman, once seen as an underdog, had flipped the narrative in an instant. This sudden shift not only changed the outcome of the fight, it transformed Foreman's legacy, thrusting him into the spotlight as a formidable powerhouse in boxing. The punch not only signified a victory in that moment, but it also signaled a profound change in the sport. The world would now recognize George Foreman as a genuine threat, one who could harness his raw strength into a new fighting strategy that would dominate the heavyweight division for years to come. From underdog to fearsome champion, George Foreman, a once-mocked underdog, stepped into the boxing ring on January 22, 1973, brimming with determination, despite the world dismissing his chances of victory against the undefeated champion Joe Frazier. During the lead-up to the bout, Foreman trained in Jamaica, surrounded by a strange mix of superstition and dreamers, while Frazier focused on more glamorous pursuits, including his music career. In contrast, Foreman was serious about the fight, immersing himself in an intense training regimen overseen by the legendary Archie Moore. Their camp was filled with bizarre rituals, including heavy punches on a bag and tightly wrapped fists that seemed almost comical. As the fight began, everything hinged on the early exchanges, and Foreman threw a wild right hand that missed, leaving him exposed to Frazier's feared left hook. Yet, Frazier hesitated, not capitalizing on the opportunity, perhaps underestimating the fierce resolve in Foreman's eyes. It wasn't long before Foreman seamlessly turned the tide, landing powerful jabs and unleashing a devastating uppercut that sent shockwaves through the arena. The atmosphere electrified, with announcer Howard Cosell famously declaring, "Down goes Frazier." This iconic moment marked a monumental turning point in boxing history, transitioning Foreman from a derided underdog to a seemingly unstoppable force, earning him the respect and fear of opponents across the globe. What once seemed implausible had been realized. A champion had emerged from the shadows, proving that belief and relentless training can defy all odds. In conclusion, George Foreman's astonishing victory over Joe Frazier was not just a moment in sports history, but a remarkable narrative of resilience and self-belief. Foreman walked into the ring, facing a barrage of doubt from critics and the media, who had all but written his defeat before the fight even began. This was a man who, despite all the odds stacked against him, refused to accept the labels placed upon him, and time and again proved everyone wrong. The fight itself, framed by an atmosphere thick with tension and foreboding, became a showcase of Foreman's raw power and determination. From the comical yet intense training sessions that raised eyebrows to the unexpected tactics he employed in the ring, It was clear Foreman had something to prove. What made this match even more riveting was Frazier's unexpected approach and the surprising dynamics that played out during the rounds. The knockout, iconic in its delivery, resonated beyond the sport. It exemplified the age-old adage that anything is possible with hard work, conviction, and a little bit of luck. Foreman's triumph turned the boxing world upside down, instantly transforming him from an underdog into a fearsome champion. As the dust settled and the world absorbed this incredible upset, it served as a powerful reminder that determination can eclipse even the most entrenched expectations. This narrative of rising against the odds goes beyond boxing. It speaks to anyone who has ever been doubted, showing that the true measure of success is not just how you start, but how fiercely you fight until the end. A true champion emerges, not just from victories, but from the relentless pursuit of greatness, leaving a legacy that transcends the ring.